I was born in Lodz, Poland, 1928. I come from a large religious family. My father was Lithuanian, religious, wealthy, till in the 30s lost most of his money, a large home, 10 siblings, 9 girls and 1 boy. Okay. 3 of us survived Lodz Ghetto, Auschwitz, Theresienstadt, you name it. 3 of us. And 1 sister. You see, my father was Lithuanian. So in 1939, when Hitler took over Poland, all the children left home and smuggled over to Lithuania, to the family. A year later, when Hitler took over Lithuania, one of the sisters was arrested by the Russians. She didn't want to become a Russian subject, not to come back home after the war. She survived. 1. All the rest we don't even know. I know what's happened to my brother. My brother Joe was tall, handsome, unbelievable with a singing voice. 1939, we had to get into a ghetto, to a worst part in Lodz. Lodz is the 2nd largest city, 168,000 Jews, textile city. 1939, beginning of 1940, I was the first casualty with the typhoid. When I woke up, I was 12 years old that time. When I woke up in a bathtub of ice, I have it in front of my eyes now after so many years. There saves a girl and says, "You're the luckiest kid in the world." Because yesterday the Gestapo, you all know what the Gestapo is, right? The Deutsche Polizei, the German. Yesterday, the Gestapo came and took out from a small little hospital all the doctors, all the nurses, and all the sick, and everybody was shot. They put them in a truck, the Germans, and everybody. Had they brought you yesterday, you would have been dead too today. This is 1940, beginning of 1940. I came down with a typhoid. They shaved my hair, a 12-year-old without hair. Took me later on 6 months how to learn how to walk. 1940, we were 168,000. 60,000 died the first summer in 1940. There was no food, no medications, and no doctors. It took me 6 months just to learn how to walk. Now, after this, everybody had to go. Look, we Jews are survivors. No matter what they do to us through the centuries, we survive. No matter what. They went to the Gauleiter, to the German. You see, if you save a life, it's like you would save the world. That's what we have in our hands, to save a life. They went to the Gauleiter, to the German, and said, "Listen, we are the textile city. Give us food and we'll work for you." 60,000 died the first summer. There was no food and no medication and no doctors. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable what was going on. Anyway, we started working for the Germans right away in 1940. 39, towards the end of 39, 1940. My little sister Lily, the youngest, 4 of us came into the ghetto. The rest went up north to Lithuania. We didn't know what or when and only came back. My little sister, day in and day out, the Germans came to the ghetto, and the Jewish police was helping them, and they went from house to house, alle Juden raus, all the Jews out, and put people on trucks and shipped them out. We never knew where they shipping them. After the war, we found out. My little sister Lily was a little spy, 8-year-old. She followed the Jewish police who helped the Germans put the people on trucks and shipped them out. Lily comes in, Mama, today our house is going to be deported. My mother took the kids and went to strange people at night and asked for us to lay on the floor. Luck, we had our own room. In 1939, when all you had to go to the ghetto, my parents had 50 American dollars. Uncles used to send a few dollars. So my mother took, it was like today, 50,000, okay? So they went to the Polish family and said, here is 50 American dollars, give me the room. And this room saved our life, because 60,000 people had to come in, 168, to a ghetto for 40,000. 3-4 families with 6 or 8 children in one room, no food, and no medication. Unbelievable. The first year was unbelievable. We started working for the Germans. I started making boots for the Germans to go on the Russian front later on. When Hitler and I, first he made a pact with Stalin, right? After this, he invaded Russia, 1941, he invaded Russia. He went as far as Stalingrad and came back just like with a broken down army and left most of the German soldiers in the fields in Russia. Anyway, we went to the ghetto and we got that room, and that room saved our life because we had a room for ourselves. 3-4 families came in later on in one room without running water and without electricity and without food. Anyway, but we are survivors. So we started working day in and day out for the Germans. We got a piece of bread and we got, my mother cooked leaves, you name it, whatever she could get her hands on. Lily, 7-8-year-old worked, everybody worked. Sally made uniforms. 3 of us survived, and 1 sister came back from Russia, from her parents. Anyway, we started working for the Germans, and we got a piece of bread. Day in and day out, the German trucks came and grabbed people. Wherever you turned around, there were German trucks taking people out. The ghetto was all closed in. Anyway, after this, we worked for the Germans, and one day, the Gauleiter, the head of the ghetto, decided Hitler started losing. So they came, the Gauleiter came and said, all the Jews, will take you to a different part of Germany, and you're going to get clothing, and you're going to get food, and you're going to get where to live. But we have to ship you out. 1943, the end of 43. My father was a night watchman because he had to study the Bible. So he stayed there and watched. They should not steal. He hardly came home at night because he had his books to study. And he got a little bit more food, a little soup or whatever, because he watched they shouldn't steal. Anyway, my father says, we are not going. In 1943, we started to hide. We hid on the cemetery. We lived on the cemetery, on the Jewish cemetery. We in the fields. There was a burn down. My father couldn't walk anymore. He was sitting there, and we were running around to find some food. There was nothing to eat, so we found a field with something was growing, big things, what animals were eating. So they got whatever they could. And we were hiding on the cemetery. We lived on the cemetery. But we have a God in heaven who watches out of us. We started hiding in 1943 towards the end in an attic. 2 families. My family, not my father, he was in the kitchen. We opened this up and 2 families in a little place. We laid there. and the Germans came with a dog, and the dog did not bark. Okay? Miracles do happen. This is a world of miracles constantly. Straight through miracles. We were laying there, they came in with the dogs did not bark, and the Germans walked out. And the two families, we stayed there. I went one day with my mother in a field. My sister came home and says, today our street is going to be deported. Everybody, she worked in the factory. And Ruthie worked in the factory, my other sister. But myself and Lily and my mother, my sister Sally says, Mother, there is a field, take the kids and dig a grave and lay down there. This is at the end of the ghetto. And we dig a grave and lay down there, hot summer, and we dress for winter, and we lay there a whole day long, and I lose a rain boot. And I started crying, and my mama says to me, Rivele, that's the way she called me, Rivele, don't cry. Maybe God is showing us a sign. Let's get out of here. We're walking out of that hiding place in a field and going towards our home. And the Germans were tipped off, and they came and they killed whoever was hidden in that field. We walked out, Lily, my mother, and myself. We walked out going towards our home. And they came with the trucks and they killed every single person. Unbelievable. One miracle after another. I started making boots for the Germans, and from there my mother noticed my hands were full of pus. So she went to a friend and she got me a job to make cribs for babies, little wooden things from a German private company. And I was very good at that. And I worked on it, and this saved my life. Because the Germans sent in, even sometimes they sent in some milk for us, because we were not only dead looking, we were like dead kids. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the Germans, if they came in, sometimes they sent a little bit of milk or something for us. Anyway, we worked, we made cribs for babies, and I want to tell you something. Twice a day, and the winters in Poland are unbelievable. And our wooden shoes were full of snow. There is a bridge. The Germans are here. There is a bridge. My house where we live is here. Twice a day, we had to cross that bridge from the house with wooden shoes, with full of snow and ice on it. And the Germans, they arrived down below, and we, 6 girls in a row, we crossed the street, because the factory was on this side and the house was on this side. And the Germans at night, when we were going back 6 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock in the morning from work, through that bridge, they were staying downstairs with the rifles shooting up at us. We were a row, 6 girls together, one fell, we all fell, and the Germans were shooting at us. This was day in and day out, mostly nights. And I can never forget those things. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every day was a fight for survival. I'm not talking about the hunger. And I'm not talking about the room this big with 3 beds and a little table. Now I want to tell you something. If God wants you to survive, there are ways. I am home alone because I work nights. And the room is that it's small and dark. There's a knock on the door. I go over to the door. I don't ask who it is. I open the door. There is 6 Gestapos. Each one 6 this tall, blonde, and ask Landowicz. Sag ich ja. Landowicz is my maiden name. So I say yes. He says they heard that we have Schmuck und Pelzen. Schmuck is jewelry, and Pelzen are fur coats. We didn't have, my mother sold a diamond for a bread. We didn't have anything. The room was pitch black. The room was unbelievable. 6 of them came in. When we went to the ghetto in 1949, beginning 1939, 1940, we brought all those things. The first thing what we went to the room was my father's books with the Bisher in the German. My father's religious book, what he studied every Shabbos, every Sabbath, my father studied because he was a businessman. So Saturday he had a day what he studied the Bible. That's German, those 6 Germans, one goes over, was ist das? Sag ich, that's my father's Bisher. What is that in German? Sag ich, because I tell my father's books. He goes over, it's a beautiful cabinet, he opens it up, it's glass, he takes out a Hebrew Seder, one of those books, gold, brown, it's beautiful. The most expensive and the most gorgeous, what you could see, a whole thing with books, with the Svarim. He takes out one, opens up, and it's Hebrew, gold lettering, and he opens it up, that German, and looks back and forth. He puts it back, and without beating me up, or killing me, or whatever, he says to the rest, let's get out of here. And they walked out, they didn't touch me, they did not beat me up. I'm not only scared, a whole day I couldn't even talk. That's how scared I was with it. I'm telling you, constantly, miracles one after another. We were on the cemetery, living on the cemetery, till end of 1943. We stayed there on the cemetery all day long. My father had a little broken down chair far away, and he was sitting full until later on. One day we heard that they were shooting the whole Jewish cemetery. The next day the Germans came. This is the 27th of August in 1944. And the Germans came and to the part of the cemetery where we stayed there a whole day. We ate there, we lived there. At night we went back where my father was laying down on the street there. The Germans came the next day and got a hold of us and wouldn't let us go. My father couldn't walk anyway anymore. And they took us to a train and left again. Because we were staying for 2 days and 2 nights. Usually when they came to Paris, a friend, or any country, and they got the people, let's say Greece, they got a hold of the people and they took him to the cattle car for 2 or 3 weeks. And when they opened up the door, sometimes not one was alive. Us. That's why I said luck, because we were only 2 days and 2 nights when they got a hold of us. On the second night, we stayed in a corner, we were holding, because there was no water, and no bread, and no name, and the train was full of people, you couldn't move around. So we stayed in a corner, and we're holding. After 2 days, they opened up, they stopped, and they opened up, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free. That was the sign. Auschwitz. The Jewish guy comes up and looks at my mother. My mother was 42 or 43 years old. A beautiful lady, gorgeous hair. He comes over and we stay in the corner and he shows with the finger. Too old, color the hair. To my sister Sally. Sally takes out from the knapsack and cuts my hair, in my mother's hair. He looks at Lily. Lily was that time 12 years old, blonde, blue-eyed, smart, beautiful. But Lily looks like 7. She didn't grow. She was this little. He says, too young, cut her the hair. She had braids. he, Sally cuts the hair, and they start working, and there's a little step, and they start working. My mother holds on to Lily for her dear life. The two Germans are staying with the rifles and start beating up on my mother. Mach das du fortkommst, get going. With three of us, Harry, Ruth, and myself, wanted to grab hold Mother and Lily. They wouldn't let us. They beat us up. Mach das du fortkommst, get going. Then he says, well, wo du gehst, du brauchst keine Mutti. Where you going, you don't need a mother. And he beats us up, and they get a hold of the three of us because we were for the right age. I was 16 years old that time, Sally was 18 and a half, and Ruthie was 15 and a half. We were the right age for slave labor. They didn't beat us up or anything. We were screaming and they were beating, and then took us to a room where all girls in our age. You know why? Because they needed slave labor, and we were the right age for slave labor. My mother was too old, and my little sister Lily was too young. They took us to a huge room and stripped us completely, take away whatever we had. If a child had an earring, they were not pulled it down. They didn't open it up or anything. If a girl had a ring, what hardly ever happened, because if anybody had a little ring or something, sold it for a piece of bread or something. They took us to a room, and they took, and water came out of the shower heads. But when my mother and thousands and millions went into a shower room, instead of water came out cyclone beat. Well, what does Germany? They have a Judenfrage. They have a Jewish question. What are we going with the 11 million Jews, what Hitler wanted to kill us, and that one should survive and show the world later on that the Jews lived, 11 million Jews should be killed in 2 days or 4 days. When we came out, we got the dress. But when my mother came in with Lily and my other sister, and millions of other people, cyclone beat, 12 came out and they never walked out again. We met a fellow after the war in Theresienstadt when we were liberated. And we wanted to go back to Poland, and he said, look for the family. He says, don't go. You won't find nobody. I was pulling out those bodies and putting them in an open. So don't run back to Poland now, because you won't find anybody. And that was the truth. My sister, Judy, came back from Russia, and she looked for us. A part of the family for anybody. She couldn't find anybody in Lodz. They took the biggest scientists, and the Germans were the biggest scientists that time in the world. They took them to for the Jewish how to kill pests. The biggest scientists. A.G. Parden, the company what had all those things to kill from the biggest scientist. And it was not enough for Hitler. He wanted to kill us completely. Yeah. Anyway, now let's get back to us. They took us to a room and water came out, right? And they gave us a dress. And the Germans started walking with us for miles and miles and miles, till we came. They opened the gates, and we came into Auschwitz. I cannot express. I was that time 16 years old. It's unbelievable. You can't express. You can't tell you. You can't comprehend. They made not only human beings out of us, animals. Hungry, no food, no water, no clothes, I told later on when we came in, we got a torn dress. There was a big sign, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free. I can't express. I can't. 25,000. 25,000. 18 rooms on one side for the Hungarians. They were coming that time. And the lodger, we started coming in 43, towards the end of 43, beginning of 44. The Hungarians had 16 barracks. We had 16 barracks, but we had the last barrack was no things for 5 years to lay in a bunk bed. It was just a plain thing going, dividing the room. 1,000 girls came in, 500 in this side. The room was this big, like up to here. We got a room without bunk beds. So we would only our oven going straight through, 500 here and 500 here, one on top of the other. Unbelievable. Pushing and hitting, no wonder. They took me and Ruti to go 2 kids this big. The bucket was this big to bring a bucket water. And when we pulled it on the street, it was unbelievable. When we come there, she made us wash the floor and beat us up. Silapel, roll call. The Germans are very unbelievable. Had to be 25,000 if 1 or 10 or 5 were missing, because the girls got fed up. They did not want to live, so they went over to the electric wiring. The whole camp was electric wiring. The ceiling, everything was electric wiring. They just walked over and touched it. But they unbelievable. It was 25,000 if 10 were missing. They had to stop the electricity. They had to go looking for the girls. They found them laying because at night they sneaked out, and I just walked over to the gate and just touched it. And they killed themselves. It was unbelievable what was going on. I don't talk about food. They gave us a little bit of soup. The container was this big, black, dirty, unbelievable. The Stubeneltern said the girls who were supposed to take care of us, so they gave it for 5 girls without a spoon and eat like an animal and fight like an animal. My sister Sally noticed. She went over to the girls. She says, look, we are 3 sisters. Please give us in 1 container. I don't look already black and dirty or whatever have you. But when you die of hunger, it's unbelievable. I was a kid who never ate. Honest. My mother cried regularly, won't survive this and this and that. I used to hide my bread, so what Thursday was not a piece of bread in the house, I put it in a kitchen towel, and I hid it. Thursday there was not a drop of food in the house. I went over, I took it out, and I put it on the table, and my mother started screaming at me, and I was the happiest kid in the world. Anyway. Auschwitz. Twice a day, roll call. A girl has come to the kitchen, we were dying for hunger. It was unbelievable. When I went to bring the food for the Germans with a little wagon, later on when I started working 12 hours at night, making bullets for the Germans, when I waited for the German lady to get a body and take 2 girls to bring food for the Germans, after a night's work, after a whole night, I stayed 6 o'clock, and the minute she came, I was right there and went to get food for the Germans. You know why? Because sometimes there was a good German lady or gentleman who saw the way we looked. They came over and they threw a piece of bread on the floor. They were not allowed to give it to you in your hand. So they were throwing it. That's why I went after 12 hours of work, a whole night. 6 o'clock in the morning, I stayed there, and when the German lady needed six Mädchens, 6 girls, to go and bring food for her and for the other lady. So I went, because there's always a good German someplace. This lady, this bigger lady, sneaked over towards me and says, "Was bist du?" Was means, what are you? Was bist du? Bist du ein Mensch? Are you a human being or are you an animal? Warst du in a Wald geboren? Were you in a forest, born in a forest? Are you a human being? I told her, yeah, ich bin ein Mensch. Sometimes she had a heart and she threw a piece of bread. She was not allowed to give it to me. It was against the law to talk to me and ask, wer bist du, was bist du? What are you? An animal or a human being? That's what they did to us. I come from a good home. I come from a religious home. And I was well-mannered, well-behaved. The Shabbat and all this life. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. But if God wants you to survive, you survive. If you don't have, I picked up the head to God. He said, God Almighty, in Yiddish, if I ever survive, that's all I want is enough bread. And a girl who never ate, I should have enough bread. And the soup shouldn't be a little bit of water only. It should be at least a potato in it. That's a 16-year-old girl, praise to God. Okay, it's unbelievable. We stayed in Auschwitz for 6 to 8 weeks. I started telling you, a girl says, come to the kitchen, I'll give you a potato. I'm working in the kitchen, she says, and I can steal a potato and I give it to you. To Ruth, my sister Ruth. Ruth says, come, she wants to give us a potato, raw or whatever. We come there and we're standing in the back of the kitchen, and the Obersturmführerin, or the lady, the main lady, the German lady, blonde, gorgeous, beautiful hair, with a whole bunch of German soldiers with rifles. And we were supposed to be back in the barrack, but we thought maybe we'll get this potato, but we did not get it. The girl never came out. But the Deutsche Sturmführerin came the back of the kitchen, says, was ist los? What's happened here? She has 6 or 8 guys with rifles, and both of us go like this. She takes both of our heads, Ruthie's and mine, and knocks them together like this. She almost knocked our brains out. And like again, she had 6 or 8 soldiers with rifles, but she almost knocked our brains out. We were ringing for days. We couldn't find where to go back to the barrack. And I can stay for hours, days, and tell you things what happened. It's mind-boggling, unbelievable. Anyway, one day the Germans came. We were, as I said, we were 1,000 women. One day Dr. Mengele came, stayed over here in this side. We were 1,000 women, and my sister Sally noticed when 2 girls are going together, or a mother with a daughter, one goes right and one goes left. She calls me over, she says, you are the smallest, your body is clean. You know, I used to sneak over 20 people and grab a little water and wash my dress. Take it off and wash it if I could grab the water. Anyway, Sally says, you go the first one. And I'll wait, we were 5,000 women. And she says, I'll wait a few hundred and then I'll come. Because we wanted to be, Sally, Ruth, and myself, we wanted to be together. She says, you go. He stays right here, and I took off the dress, and I come towards him, and he shows me to go to the right side, just like that. Never touched anybody. Sally noticed, so she came, went towards him, he showed it to the right side too. Ruthie was chubbier and she was taller, so she came over to him just like that, and he showed it. There was a small little room like this, big like this, and we all three hugged. From there they took us to a different part, and it was the same thing the next morning. I stayed on this side and we went towards him and we did the same thing, and the three of us were together. From there we waited a whole day and they took us to another building. We were 250 larger girls to go to slave labor. We came in and the girl says, you get yourself on top. Lay there. And if they come in the middle of the night and they don't turn on the light, don't move. Lay. Sure enough, that's what we did. We laid in a barrack all the way on top, quiet. The middle of the night, the Stubenälteste came in and didn't turn on the light and killed alle aroused, and we were laying there, we didn't move, and they killed 50 young lives. 50. And they were screaming their heads off, and we were laying there. From there, they took us to another part, and we waited on steps for 200 girls to go to slave labor, and we wait there. And this is October 44 already, and we're waiting a few days on steps, 200 girls. The two German soldiers came, and the truth has to be told. They took us to a train. The Germans did not have trains to bring back the soldiers from Russia, but they had places for us. They had trains for us, and we got a train. And they took us to the southern part of Germany. And we came there, and they say a lady in they marched us for about 6 hours, pitch black. And we were screaming, we were crying, we thought they were going to take us and kill us. So they took us to a building, there says a big fat lady with a white uniform. I see it in front of my eyes. And she says in German, Gott sei Dank, thanks God, die Kinder sind schon da. That's what the children are here already. They have a dining room, they have a table, they had spoons. Since we left home, we didn't see a spoon anymore. And a little bit of soup for each one, not 5, 6 girls together. 5, 6 girls drank a little bit of soup, or each one was pulling it. My sister noticed, they gave it for us, the three of us. I took a little bit. They made animals out of us, not human beings. But when you're hungry, when your mind doesn't work, or doesn't think of anything, just how to find a piece of bread on the floor, not on the floor, a little whatever. It's a terrible thing, even people who never eat, or eat very little. But it was a terrible thing. If I stole a potato or something, I did. I went to the German to bring food for her. I put a string around, and if I could get, I was this big, and I could grab a potato or a carrot or anything. You have that in front of your eyes. So you grab whatever you can. If I got something, I divided. I gave my sister, and a girlfriend was there. I gave her a bite too. But anyway, this is unbelievable. They took us to an ammunition factory, and the truth has to be told. And the Germans did not beat us up, the Meister, the foreman. They taught us. They needed us. They needed us to make things for the Germans. I made for the air base with a hole in the middle, and the German was standing and measuring constantly. I tried to move it a little bit. Anyway, we worked for the Germans, till one day the Russians came. Where an hour before, we were in the southern part of Germany, and we were, then they put us on American trains. The Russians were about an hour away, and they shipped us out to Theresienstadt. Not a drop of water, not a piece of bread. The bombs were falling, and we were the luckiest kids in the world. They brought us to Theresienstadt. Theresienstadt was a ghetto. Theresienstadt did not have a piece of bread or a drop of water. Whoever came or whatever to take a look what it is from United States, not United States, but from all over. They saved 200 Jewish boys there, and they came to pick them up. Denmark saved 200 Jewish boys. They saved their people anyway in Prague again. No food again. The bombs were eating us alive. There was no way to get into a building because the bombs were eating them, so we slept outside. And we were dying for hunger again. Till the Russians came, and now the Russians came, and we were liberated the 5th or the 6th. I decided, and Theresienstadt was right away closed off, you couldn't get out. But we Jewish kids find out everything very nicely in here. So we found out that Maria Theresa, the Queen, was ruling that time in Theresienstadt. But she had a city on top, and we found out that there is a city underneath. And this city underneath, you could get out on the superhighway. And I heard that on the highway, 5 miles away, the Russians are catching the German soldiers, and they're going to ship them out to Kriegsgefangene, war prisoners. This idiot wanted to have a dress, a torn black dress, with a long white stripe, Konzentrat, okay, Lager, L, on the back. I sneaked out, 6 in the morning, and we went down underneath the buildings, and came out on a superhighway, and I walked 5 miles with a dress, Concentration Lager, right here, and the German soldiers were walking. I wanted to see how they take away the ammunition, the things from the Germans. And I wanted to go and see it, but I didn't tell Sally, I didn't tell Ruthie. I sneaked out in the middle of the night, and I came there, the Germans were walking with the rifles. Anyway, and I came there, and they were standing, and the Russians were taking away all those things what they had. I went over, this girl was this big, skinny, unbelievable. I went over to that German soldier and started beating him up like this. And said, Du Schweinhund. Schwein is pig, Hund is dog. And this is a very ugly thing to tell to a German. Just like they call us verfluchte Juden. So we call them, anyway, I took it away from him. Sagte, aber ich habe gar getan. I didn't do anything. So I tell him in English, not in German. I didn't speak English at that time. I said, in German, I tell him that you were killing people. And I said, and I started beating him up. I take away his knapsack. This is a girl who dies of hunger. I open it up, and there's a black, rusty piece of bread. I did not touch it. I threw it away. I didn't give it back to him. I was dying for hunger. I would not eat it. A German soldier, you should have seen it, rust on it. And I beat him up as much as I could. Du Schweinhund, I called him, Schwein, pig. And I beat him up. And I'm happy whenever I think about it, that I did it. Honest. I beat up a German. Anyway, we were liberated in Theresienstadt, again, no food, no Red Cross came. And we cleaned up, they told us to wash the thing, they came, they picked up the 200 the boys for Denmark. Red Cross did not give us a piece of bread, a drop of water. Sometimes we were not begged for a drop of water, for a piece of bread. They were not allowed to give it to us. Anyway, we were liberated, and we stayed a little while in Czechoslovakia, and they gave us a train. The Czechoslovakia wanted all the people out, and they gave us a bread, and they gave us a train, and we were 500 kids to go to Italy. We want to go to Jerusalem. So we went as far as Austria. We had a train, and they gave us a bread, and they gave us a little jam, and whatever, maybe a little bit of soda or something. We went as far as Austria, and the English wouldn't let us, was the English zone, they wouldn't let us go, 500 of us, back to Austria, back to Theresienstadt, and we stayed there in the train for days and days and days. United States came, the American soldiers came and got a new train, and they took us to Landsberg am Lech. Landsberg am Lech in Saxony, where Hitler was in jail in 1920, where he wrote Mein Kampf. In that jail in 1920, Hitler. Later on, after the Nuremberg trials, they were hanging his whole, whoever the United States got a hold of. One committed suicide, somebody, but United States, they were caught in 1946, and as a lot of Germans were hanged, and a lot of Germans were, one killed himself, and whatever, but we followed this. We knew exactly. We lived 5 years in Germany, almost. I lived. My sisters got married in Landsberg, in Germany, and the family sent papers, and they both left, and I went into the American consul in Augsburg, and I said, I am alone now, my sisters are in the United States, and I would like to go to the United States. And the gentleman said, sure, why not? Come in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks I came, I got papers to the United States, and I got a train, and 2 days later, I came United States in 1948, after 5 years in Germany. And this country was very good to me. I went, you see what it is with us Jews. When everything finished, we became human beings again. We went to schools, we educated ourselves. I took right away to a trade. I made designing dresses, and make dresses, and design, and make the pattern, and everything. My sisters went to offices and worked. We had United States gave us a new lease on life. They sent clothing in for us, used, but we had new clothes to wear, not a torn dress with a concentration line in the back. They sent in food. They sent in the biggest musicians to play for us. They sent in, you name it, and schools. Whoever wanted to go to a college had the right to go. Unbelievable. And I came and I said I want to go to the United States after 5 years in Germany. I lived 5 years. Yeah, well, yes, sure. I came to the United States right then and there. My sisters too. And it was very good to us. Straight through. It's unbelievable. The country was good for us. We all three are in good position. I just lost my husband 4 years ago. I met my husband, he was from my town. My family lived the same building with him. And we had a good life. We made a good living. The children are educated. It's all of them. Some of them. Sally's and Ruthie's. One has a movie company. One is a doctor. Sally's son is a doctor. My kids are all educated. Everybody. My younger one just went into USC now. Beautiful homes, a beautiful life. I want to go out by myself. I think I can do it. I want to buy myself a new coat. Not today. We worked, we saved, we lived a good life. The kids were good and educated, nice human beings. The little ones call on the phone, Auntie, I want to give money for the sick people. Can you give me some money? Sure, come on. Honest. I sent checks, 3 checks for the hungry. I sent things, I write down the check. Instead to go to a movie. I had plenty of money to go to a movie. But since I lost my husband, I just don't have a heart, and I can't stand those movies. Anyway, my niece in Canada, Ruth's daughter, they have a movie company. They make movies. They all are fine. They all working good and making nice living. And we all, right away, we made $1. Me and Ruth. We didn't trust what you call it, the bank. So we went into this post office because that's the United States owns it. So we had $1 to save. So we went in and opened up an account, not in a bank. We were afraid the bank is going to take away the money. This I'm talking about 1945. Anyway, but the United States was good. I love it. My children love it. They behave, they're good people. And I'm very happy. Now, if anybody has a question, I'll be more than happy to answer. Yes, sir.
You know, the amazing thing that I wonder about is, I know when you were in the camps and everything, I assume there was no heat in the barracks, any kind of heater and everything, and you had no food, and your body needs food to produce heat. And you're in these barracks in the wintertime. I can't imagine how everybody just didn't die of pneumonia. You must have been cold all the time, just freezing cold, all the time.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I never got enough. I got rest in bed. We had 3 beds. We were 3, mother, father, and I was a bed with Sally. The room is this big. Okay? And 3 beds.
In the camps? You're talking about
No, I'm talking about in the camps with no beds. In the camps we were laying, like you see in the movies, 5 here, 5 here.
On the floor, just laying on the floor.
Yeah.
No blankets, nothing.
Yeah, we had just the floor. You see, but later on they shipped us to another one, so we had 5 girls in one. 5, 3-year-old things. But you went in from one top to the other. But bunk beds. Anyway, what was the question?
I was just saying, you must have been cold
Yeah,
all the time.
okay.
In the wintertime in Germany, you must have been so cold.
Winter was unbelievable. You can't imagine. In Siberia, you know what Siberia is?
Yes.
You know what Siberia is? Winter almost the whole year long, maybe a month or so. Unbelievable. I never went out of bed, and I was already dressed completely in bed. Who could go out? It was unbelievable. Unbelievable, not a drop of... my mother had a little oven, this big, and let me tell you something. Ruti, you're not going to believe, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Ruti, when I got well, let's go back when I was 12. My older sisters, they always bought books and brought books home. When we came to the ghetto, the first thing what we brought was books, my father's Bisher, my father's books and our books with the snow thing, with the two.
Your barrel.
Yeah, the 2 kids. I did not get out of bed in the ghetto till I was completely dressed. My mother noticed, well, I crossed, as I told you, I crossed the street, I had to go out, I walked this, and the Germans were underneath there, right? And if I walk with my wooden shoes in the winter, it was no thing not to fall down. And to cross the street and to fall down so the Germans could shoot at you. So this, my mother gave away a bread and went to a shoemaker to make a pair of boots for me so I should not fall off walking through that thing. Because the German would shoot me right then and there, the minute I fell. Because he was at night, especially when I was going from work or going to work in the middle of the night. They were right there with the rifles waiting. Just if you made just a step. My mother gave away a bread was life. For me to have a pair of shoes, I shouldn't fall off. Okay, a bread. You know what a bread was, amount of food. She cut up a little piece for each child. It was unbelievable. 4.5, almost 5 years of hunger. This one never ate, but a piece, if I pick up the head to God, begging for a piece of bread. It's mind-boggling. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, yes.
How were you able to keep track of the dates so well?
To what?
Keep track of the time and the dates. You have such a good memory.
We had a watch from the house. We had a Friday night. My mother washed up the children. We rolled in a bathtub. And my mother put us in and washed us up for Shabbat. And she cooked. She made from whatever, a leaf, she made for dinner something, she made food out of it.
What was your first Shabbat like after the Holocaust?
Oh, brother. Well, we didn't have my mother anymore. The first day after this, we didn't have, as I said, telling you, when we were liberated in Theresienstadt, and we were there a few nice weeks, and we did not have no food whatsoever. And the buildings were full of bombs. You couldn't build it, and then there was one building, I forgot to tell you, 1944. We came into Theresienstadt. The Red Cross came in to pick up 200 boys. We were scrubbing the street. We were cleaning it up to show that we are clean people, and we really thought maybe they give us a piece of bread. This is towards the liberation already, in Theresienstadt. And the Red Cross came in, and they didn't throw a piece of bread for us. Okay? We were not, so when the war ended, all the farms were left open, because the Germans, you see, the Germans came, they did not play around. They brought people from Germany, they gave them the farms. The Germans took away any factory, anything there was of value was taken away and gave them to the Germans. I saw it. When I went there to beat up that little German soldier, there was this whole 5 miles with trucks full of merchandise, what the Germans, you see what the Germans did? They took away a factory. They brought Germans from Germany and they gave them the factory. They took away a building, they brought the Germans and they gave them the building. When the Russians started coming, the Germans left. I saw it. I can talk about it. The whole 5 miles were trucks with the Germans were stealing from the Czech people. Okay, it was the Czechs. They're not part of the Nazi. Okay? They grabbed whatever they could not, they left it all the 5 miles. The big trucks, I went up there, and you should see what they were stealing. But they couldn't take it anymore, because they were scared of the Russians, the Germans, and they ran away and they left it on the fields. You should have seen it. You should have seen what they were dragging out. Unbelievable. Any place they came, they took away from everybody, not just from us Jews. No. They took away from everybody. Factories, stores, you name it. And they brought in the Germans. I had a lot of girlfriends who became maids, and they spoke good German. They went to Germany, they say the Germans, or they say they Czech or whatever, and they got jobs there. But they were Jewish, but they were against, it was against the law, they would kill them. But if they said they Czech or they Ukraine or whatever, the Germans took him as maids. They didn't pay him, just gave him food. A lot of girlfriends. Anyway, anybody else has a question? Yes?
First of all, I want to applaud you for beating up German soldiers. So bravo for that.
I love it. Schweinfurt. Schweinespig. Who is dog?
I have a million questions. When you talked about how some of the girls would go out and electrocute themselves on the fence, and they would have a roll call, the Germans knew your name, or this is when they gave the number? Is that what it was?
No names.
So the roll call was the numbers, or how did
No. They just said that they were missing 10 or 20.
It was
So
head
they started
counts.
looking for them. You see, the walls, this is the camp. The walls were electro. This was electric. When he came, you couldn't touch, you couldn't go close to it. But the girl sneaked out in the middle of the night. And my sister Sally says many a time she wanted to do it, but because of us she wouldn't. Because she saved our life constantly. She went in, in 1943 or 43. They wanted to ship me out because I was making cribs for babies, and it was not for the soldiers, for the army. So they wanted, it came a paper. Sally, my sister Sally, went into a German where she worked. She made uniforms for the Germans and a big factory. And she begged somebody to go in and show the paper and say we can send her out. That the men from the company said that. Sure enough, she saved my life. She sent in somebody where she worked, and they signed that Regina Hirsch is needed for this and this and this. I wasn't needed to make the cribs for babies. You understand? For soldiers, yeah, I made the books for soldiers, but that time I was 12, it was 4 years before, Anyway, it's a mind-boggling thing. It's mind-boggling. I lived it through. You should see day in and day out, in the winter, the summer wasn't so bad, to cross, to come, and to cross that thing, and the Germans standing here at night with the rifles. And they wanted to shoot, were shooting. For 6 years in a row we went sometimes. It won't tell me all of it. It was unbelievable. It's mind-boggling, really mind-boggling. Anybody else has a question? Yes, honey.
Have you been back to Poland?
No, I will never go there. We wanted in the beginning, but since that fellow who was in that commando, they called it commando, playing the Balsat, so we decided not to go. My sister Judy came back, because she was in Russia, up north, almost Komiesesa, and she came back to Lodz, and she looked for family, and she couldn't find anybody. Later on, she lived in Israel, and then we got her to the United States, and her daughter is a big lawyer, and her son is big busy too, with all kinds of things. And she died about 3 years ago, Judy. So we got her from Israel, so she bought the house here, my house was here, Sally's house was across the street. So we were always, all the kids were coming into my house, and so all those years we were together. Yes.
You said that the Red Cross wouldn't give anybody, would they give? You said
Not for the Jews.
Not boys even?
Not for the Jews.
Oh, so who are they giving food to?
They came to pick up 200 boys. You see what's happened? Denmark was making food daily for the Hitlers. Denmark. They saved all their Jews. You know this story about this? Yeah? You know the story?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you the story. Denmark found out, one of the Denmark people found out from a German that tomorrow they're coming and taking out all the Jews from Denmark. So in the middle of the night, they took the Danish people, closed off the Jewish houses, took the people, and they took it to Sweden with our boats. Thousands upon thousands. 200 boys stay there, boys from all over Europe, who came to Denmark to work in the fields, and they forgot about the 200 boys. I was met with, and I know it from the valley, from all of the boys. They forgot about them. But one of from the office talked to a German lawyer, to a German in Denmark, and say finally that they're not going to kill those 200 young lives, Jewish boys. And it was signed. And I presented him, we made a big thing in Las Vegas. And I had a guy from there, and I know all the story. 200 boys worked in the fields, and they forgot to ship them out to Sweden. But the German general signed a paper that they would let him be there. And they came to Theresienstadt. And the Red Cross, a day before the liberation, the Red Cross came to Theresienstadt, and they took them out, the 200 boys, because there was a signed paper from a general, German, that they're not going to kill them. Okay, that's why I know those things. I made a lot of these temples or things to show what it was going on. People were helping. But we had papers from Theresienstadt, and we had papers from all over. So I know all about those things. Anybody that has another question, I'll be more than happy to answer. No?
The 5 years you were in Germany after the war ended, Did you interact with Germans in that time?
What?
Did you have to talk to Germans in that? What was that like?
Like, well, if you are a human being, you live your life, and you don't run around in the streets screaming, verfluchte Deutsch, like they called us, verfluchte Jude. You become a human being. You go to school. You educate yourself. You work. You don't take nothing for nothing. The United States were sending us in, I'm telling you. But I worked.
In Germany, that was you
In
were working.
Germany after the war. Those 5 years, 4.5, almost 5. Sally got married, Ruthie got married. The family sent papers. Me and my uncle didn't send papers, but went anyway because I went to the office and, and they gave me right away papers.
I have a question. I've heard many Holocaust survivors, because of the Holocaust, their faith in God changed. They felt like we were abandoned. And so with the experience and with your experience, it's almost like it was a miracle. Anyone that survived, it was always miracles. It seems like anyone that managed to survive, somehow they must have miracles after miracles to live.
If you lay hidden in a thing and you go away and they come the Germans and they kill everybody. Now,
So
come on. You have to think of something. I lay there with my mother a whole day. We walk away. I walk barefoot there. But we went away and the Germans came. And this was going on not once or twice. Those 6 killers came in, they wanted to Schmuck und Pelzen, furs and jewelry. They didn't knock my brains out. He didn't even touch me. He walked out just like that because of the few religious books. He got the. It's unbelievable. Things like that. It's unbelievable. They're shooting at us. And if you walk that stage. If you come to our Museum of the Holocaust, the new building in the park in Penn Pacific, there's a picture of that thing with the steps to cross the street. It's a big day in Lodge. If you ever come to the museum, it's a brand new. The museum is I and a few people. We opened it in 1960 on the 12th floor in the Jewish Federation. We opened up the museum, and it was like a church, like a rabbinate thing. It was unbelievable. But then we moved downstairs, and from there we went someplace else to 6th Street in Wilshire. Now we have a beautiful building in the park. Yes?
I realize you were a child when Hitler came to power. As far as life now, would you say that, are there warning signs of things that happen before a society falls apart? It was crazy. It was just madness took over. Are there signs that you can sort of say, this is what happens before things fall apart? Do you know what I'm asking you?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, could you see something like this ever happening in the U.S.? Could something like this ever can something like Hitler ever happen in the U.S.?
God forbid. God forbid. No. That's why we all came to the United States and we love it. I love the United States, unbelievable. If I see, God forbid, a plane, something happens, the plane, I sit there and cry my heart out. I have news for you. Any little thing, I see something, what happens in this country, I sit at night, and not today because my husband is here. Years. To me, this is my life, my world, my mind gave me a new little life for crying out loud. I came here, I was afraid to go into a bank. I was afraid to talk. I got money from Germany. I was very ill in Germany, very ill. I came to the United States for a nice few years. I was very ill, unbelievable. When I opened up my eyes, the doctor was, and the nun was a Catholic hospital, and the nun, when I unconscious, but when I opened, the nun was praying there. And then the doctor was right there in the middle of the night at the bed.
Wait, this is after the war,
After
when you
the
were
war.
still in
Here.
Germany?
No,
Or this is in
in
here?
Germany I was sick, unbelievable, unbelievable. They put me into hospital and they didn't undress me in the camp. And when I woke up, they sent me home. I don't know if they gave me some. I was sleeping 3 whole days. So this I don't know. I just remember when I came out of it. Anybody? Yes?
So it must have felt really great to be able to beat up the German. But weren't you afraid afterwards that he could kill you? Or
No, he was going to the camp, to the shipping, the Russians are shipping him out to the Kriegs, the Kriegs war prisoner. The German is after the war, what I saw, when I wouldn't do it before, when he would knock my head off.
Yeah.
But when they were going to the four-way highway, cross something there, and from there they shipped them out to Russia, the German soldiers. They took away their ammunition and they shipped them out. And later on they left them in the United States, in jails, and little by little they let them out. Anybody else has a, yes?
When you entered the camps, did they make you get tattoos of serial numbers? Or
No, we came to Auschwitz no more in this numbers, the less transport. August 27, 1944, no more, no more. They did not bring in not one, no, the less transport. The head of the ghetto, Rumkowski, came the next day with a wife, with a child. He was an old man, but he married a young woman. And we all ran to they said Rumkowski, and they put him through the crematorium right then and there. When they brought him, he was in the train, and they came out, and we were closed up, the 25,000 of us. And somebody said Rumkowski is going to behave. So we ran up outside into Palup, and we saw him. The little boy was wearing a gray outfit with a little hat. Anyway, he was a tyrant, that man. He took away everything from us, from the people. And he worked with the Germans mostly. Maybe he had to. Anyway, it was rough times. 4.5 years, almost 5 years of life in the ghetto. It's unbelievable. Yes?
Do you think that when the 6 Germans came in to your house, that when that one German saw the holy books, that he was scared away morally?
Yeah. Well, he closed it down. It's a book.
And it was illegal, right, to have those? Or?
Yeah. And the room was very dark. The light wasn't on. We didn't have lights.
So
We had a candle or something. But when they came in, he wanted furs and jewelry. Somebody said, my father used to be wealthy. Apparently somebody there's always people who the Germans would give him something, and they would tell him, this guy has money, had money, has furs. Anyway, apparently somebody told him, this man, he lives right here, he was rich and he had a lot of money. So they came and I was home alone. I didn't ask who it is or what, I opened up the door. Somebody knocks on the door, I opened it up. There's nothing to steal. It's in the little cup, the little thing. Anyway, I want to tell you something, and you won't believe it, but I always wanted books. My mother gave me and Ruthie, we were like one. So she gave us 35 cents. I'm talking about before the war. So my mother gave us 35 cents to go and buy candies or whatever we want. I wanted, at age 8, 9, I wanted books. My older sisters were buying books, they were bringing books, they always had, because one went to college and one was at CPA. Anyway, so they always had books. But I wanted a book. So to go to the library, I had to cost 35 cents. No free of charge. Mother gave us 35 cents. So Ruthie wanted ice cream. Came out new ice creams with the chocolate, those long ones, for 25 cents instead of ice cream 5 cents. So she wanted this ice cream and I wanted a book. Okay? So we went and we got together all our books. Nobody's going to believe it, but I'm just telling you the truth. Me and Ruthie, after I got well, before I started working, we opened up a library. The two of us had a piece of thing. We hanged it on the wall, on the other wall, and we wrote out cards, 5 cents. We had all quiet on the Western Front. Then we had from the pictures, and then we had the very famous books. And we opened up a library and we charged 5 cents. And for children, we had a lot of books for children. I'm not telling you a lie. So the people started by coming and giving 5 cents, and we ran around in the whole ghetto to look for more books, and we were buying books. All quiet on the Western Front, and the 80 days around the world, yeah? Jules Werner, yeah? I forget. Anyway, so we opened up our library in this room. A shelf right here, in the door, in a little table, and we wrote out cards for everybody whoever came. The grown-ups decided, they found out that we have 80 days around the world. Yeah?
Around the world.
Yeah? We had this. Every man, every woman wanted this book. So we had to hide it. And we gave it, and they paid 5 cents. And this book was open for, this book, the place was open for maybe 2, 3, 4 months. Later on, it started that there was very little wood in the ghetto. So people started cutting out pages, and people started burning up our books. And our books were unbelievable for us. So we closed it off. Maybe after 3/4 of a year or a year. If I start telling you, I wouldn't go home in 2 hours or 5 hours. Okay, we made, one day the Germans, this is already 1944, the Germans gave packages to put it in the ground and it will grow. Everybody had a small little piece in the backyard, this big. We didn't have enough. So there was a girl down to shul in the temple. And the job was here. So the 3 of us cleaned this out. One was inside, and one was putting this out, a bucket with the junk. We made a little building. And we were put in whatever vegetables we could get, radishes and whatever, and this started growing. And we put a little cucumber, it was too small. We worked 2 years just to clean up the burned out little temple. And we It started growing. And when we saw the little thing was too small, we put it back. It happened that we had to leave, and we left what we worked 2.5 years to have a garden with vegetables. Not one piece of vegetable. We did not eat this much because we had to hide. And we left everything like this, in the house too. We grabbed whatever we could. And we were hiding in the cemetery. But we did not eat a little, nothing from it. It was not good, big enough. The little tomato was this little. And we put it back, it should grow, but we never had a chance to have one, and we worked so hard on it. If I can tell you things, you will say, oh, this girl makes up stories. I don't make up. Whatever I went through, I remember.
How about one last question?
Yeah.
One more question?
Yeah, anybody.
I have one.
Okay.
Thank you. First, it's such a wonderful mitzvah to hear you speak, and
Thank you.
I'm wondering, your sisters who survived, were they also able to tell their story in their lifetime?
Ruthie is a year and a half younger than I am. And she's a business lady, and she is smart, and she would not listen to you when you started talking. She walked out. Even now, you see, my swimming pool is out of order next door, what I live. She's next door to me. You know where the temple is, the Sinai temple? She's the next big building. Holly lives there, Ruthie lives there. So I go over there. If I start saying one word about, she is already over there. I don't want to, never. Sally will talk. She went in, all our kids went to Sinai temple, to the school. So she went in and was to the class and telling them, not much, but she was talking about it. Let's put it that way. Not Ruthie. She closed her mouth and she's out. I live the truth enough. She doesn't want, even now, I'm with her in the pool almost every day, and I start talking because I'm teaching Holocaust for 60-some years with the University of Judaism, and with all over, you know. We have people at schools coming constantly. The other day I had 70, 80 kids, Thursday. And then Wednesday in the afternoon, I had a whole bunch of people. Whenever they, I am every Thursday, anybody wants to come to our temple, it's in the park. And I'm there every Thursday, and I have groups of people who come, and if something special, they call me. So I come and it's only 2 or 3 people. We had 25 when we started. We had the building, in the Federation building on the 12th floor. We had the most unbelievable. You came in there, you had to cry. It's unbelievable. But then we moved down, then we moved someplace else because the Federation needed the building. And now we are in Pacific, in the park. And a brand new building. People gave, because about 30 million or more. So some people gave big bucks. So we have it now there. And I'm there once a week telling my story. And that's about it. So thank you so much for listening. And it shouldn't happen to nobody because of color, religion, or what have you. We are all the same people. We should look out for each other.